Hey, husband,
Yes, wife.
how do you fix a broken tuba?
How do you fix a broken tuba?
With a tuba glue.
Wow. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Random's Thoughts. I'm husband and that's wife, and we're on a speed run tonight because we
Yes, we
have
are.
a whole lot of ground to cover. Like, a
Yes, we
lot of
do.
ground. So we unfortunately, due to real life circumstances, missed there's a small gap in the recording. So
Yeah.
as a result, we are way behind the eight ball, wife.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we have a lot of cards to talk about, and there's a lot of news to talk about, which we're going to talk about first.
Yes.
So there's a few different news items, and this came out at the time of this recording. Well, I don't want to say a while ago, but it feels like it's old already, and it's quite literally a week old.
Yeah, it's only been a week, but I feel like there has been a lot going on in that last week.
Absolutely. So here are the highlights for anybody who's been living under a rock or whatever your favorite expression of choice is. We finally have firm or firmer dates for the release of the new set Uprising that we've been talking about and everybody else has been talking about, and we're going to be continuing to talk about. First item is we're getting the physical release at the end of June, which is obviously a far cry from the initially intended release date, but if you listen to any of the things PlayFusion has been saying, it's kind of, well, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that they had to do what they've been doing. So the second piece of this is we are actually going to be getting the digital release significantly earlier. It's actually supposed to be coming out in early May.
Yeah, which is exciting because that's really soon.
Yep. So we're actually not that far away from the potential digital release, and it's going to be fun to dive into all those cards. It's very unique that it's going to be releasing on the digital platform first as opposed to the physical. In a lot of other games, it often is the other sequence. I'm sure this is more a logistical thing than anything else. But it is
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool because now you can, I personally feel you have a lot more freedom in the digital realm to kind of do, just mess
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, you're not as tied down, I feel like.
Exactly. I mean, yes, you still have to invest. You still have to acquire the cards. You can't really trade. So it makes it a little more complex. But at the same time, you can just craft stuff. It's not at the mercy of, oh, well, does someone in my local play group happen to have the cards I want to trade for? It's just, okay,
Yes.
well, I'm not playing these anymore. I'll crunch them down into stuff and then use the stuff to mold other card I want to try out, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's, as I said, unique. It's kind of take it or leave it. Right now, it's the way we've been playing. We're primarily focusing on the digital side of things anyway. So hooray us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of the community right now is just chomping at the bit and it's the instant gratification thing is also pretty nice.
Exactly. So I think that's a positive thing. So we're going to be seeing that pretty soon, which probably informs why we are getting so many spoilers and so rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
Cards are coming out in batches, and that's why we're going to have at the back end of the show a whole lot of things to cover.
Yeah, we are.
So a small tidbit that kind of snuck in the middle there is that there is not going to be a dedicated Rift Pack 2 or a core box. They actually got merged into the set. So if you notice, some of the spoilers had different total set numbers, as in quantity of cards. That's the reason why. So now
Mm-hmm.
instead of initially being 130 cards, now it's 202. This is one that I personally am not a huge fan of, only because now, obviously, it's more difficult to acquire all the cards because now you're getting them out of random packs as opposed to what sounded like Rift Pack 2 and the core box would have just been you buy it and you get it, or at least, because it's a smaller, they were hypothetically smaller sets, you just wouldn't have to acquire as much product in that
Yeah.
case. But it is what it is, and this, lumps everything together. So I guess I'm sure there are, again, a lot of logistical factors that went into this decision, but there's going to also be, less of an eyesore, I guess, where you have a gazillion products on the shelf that all come out at the same exact time or right around the same time.
And that's also nice because it doesn't kind of overwhelm people as much in a way.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of those sort of arguments are, okay, well, a reasonable person will get past it, but sometimes any barrier, no matter how small, may as well be insurmountable, because if someone's on the fence, you need to make every effort to get them into the pool.
Yeah, you need to be able to go, and they fall over.
Exactly. And then, but if you're putting even the smallest barrier in between there, it makes it easy for someone to just use it as an excuse. So now it's just, okay, well, here's the new set. Here's lots of new toys. Go get it. That sort of thing. In addition to these, swapping back to the digital side of things momentarily, we're also going to be getting a new single-player adventure, which, I'll be honest, I'm not really sure what this is going to look like. So according to the Play Fusion press release, it's a brand new single-player adventure. It's a massive, completely free, story-driven mode that will launch alongside the digital release. What it sounds like to me is, or what I'm picturing in my head, maybe this is totally off, is something akin to Hearthstone's standalone solo expansions. I don't know if this is going to have anything to do with the old Lightseekers RPG.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to expect here.
I don't know what to expect, but I'm kind of excited about it. Not that I don't love playing with other people, but there have been times when it's 3:00 in the morning and I'm awake and I can't sleep. So, hey, let's play Lightseekers. And for some reason, it's always Tetra. Shout out to Tetra, who is online, and I just play 6 rounds against Tetra. That's all I do at 3:00 in the morning.
But this does give you an alternative then.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's just another way for people to enjoy the game. Sometimes you want to sit down. You do want to play a game, but not necessarily be I'm all up in there and I'm all about my competitive juices today. Maybe sometimes that's not your thing, and that's where these sort of things step in. I'm very curious whether this will impact any of the in-game card economy as far as, again, those crafting materials that you use to craft cards. Can you acquire stuff for that in this mode? I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see.
That would be interesting. Details. I hope so, but yeah.
I would imagine that if they do, it obviously, if you could grind it, that it would have to be either exceptionally diminishing returns or there's a cap to it or something like that, because otherwise you inevitably will have someone doing bad things on that end. So we'll have to wait and see for additional details, but that definitely sounds exciting. Another exciting thing, because there's actually a bunch of exciting things in here, and then one that isn't on the list down at the bottom here. I was just highlighting some of the major things, but we'll talk about the other one in a moment. So this one is draft mode, which is really exciting, and it sounds as though it is also taking a cue from other digital card games for how it's going to handle the draft. That is, you pick a hero, and then you draft your decks with random cards and then play people, as opposed to a physical draft where you all sit at a table, open up packs, and your choices at the draft directly influence the choices that your other opponents have at the table. So you pick a card, it's now out of the draft pool. In this, it sounds like you don't influence the other players.
Yeah, which is nice in a multitude of ways, one being timing.
Well, that's the other thing, is it's asynchronous. There's one person at the
draft who takes forever, and then it goes longer, and then So I'm pretty excited for this type of drafting ability.
And based on playing it in other games, if this is what I'm interpreting it as is accurate, I think it's a great way to help people ease into the game. You walk into ranked, and you don't have to go very far to see on pick a social media network that you prefer. And if people are talking about Lightseekers, inevitably there's somebody complaining about the ladder. Now, there's always going to be complaints. It's just the way the world is. But there is something to be said where, okay, well, for the umpteenth thousandth time, do you want to walk into Abyss Tentacles, or this deck, or that strategy, or this strategy? Draft mode forces you to interact with cards that you might not normally interact with. But I'm very
Yeah.
curious, A, what is the card retention going to be? So if you normally when you draft in real life, the cards you open, you keep them. Usually in
Hmm.
digital games, that's not true. They're phantom cards. I'm curious if A, you'll keep the cards, and B, again, how does this impact the card economy as far as crafting and those sort of things go? And C, when it says pick your hero, are these like super generic heroes, or can you like pick any hero you want?
Hmm.
I'm sure they're going to be more generic, but I'm
Yeah, I
very
feel like it's
curious.
gonna have to be generic, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's happening all around the same time, and we're gonna have a lot to tackle. Oh, and by the way, we're gonna have full Joy-Con support for the Switch that's coming out along with these releases in early May. So I'm very curious how all of this is going to interplay. I know when it was announced on the Switch, a lot of people are, us included, were very excited. So the expansion of the support is great. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Now,
So excited.
one thing that is, I don't want to make it sound negative, because when I say that I have really no idea how to interpret this, I really mean that. And that's not me making a joke or trying to stir up discussion. I mean, discussion is great, and I'm not trying to say don't discuss it. But one of the things that's not on the news list down there, for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, Lightseekers is moving to a different distribution model. So they're going to be selling directly through Amazon, directly to players.
Hmm.
And we were talking about this offline, and wife, feel free to bring up some of the same points, or if you thought of new ones since last time we talked about it. I'll start the discussion with, I have no idea how to interpret this, because to my knowledge, I have not played a game that has gone this route or anything even similar. Everything is
Yeah.
always run through distributors and then to game stores. Now, that's not to say that we haven't bought games, including Lightseekers, off of Amazon
Yeah.
before. But it's never been game company to Amazon as the primary distributor to players.
Yeah.
Or this is actually, it could be they're setting up an Amazon store that's a PlayFusion store there. So it's not, if you go on Amazon, you order something, sometimes it'll be whatever item that just happens to be in Amazon's warehouse.
Yeah.
But there are other auctions, sales, whatever, that are direct from the seller. And this sounds like it's going to fall into the latter category.
Yeah, I would imagine that that's the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it might be hard on game stores in general then,
Yeah.
for this to continue kind of backing this game, which I hope.
Yeah.
I hope PlayFusion and everybody can find a way to at least work with the game stores to keep the live game.
Yeah, I'm
alive.
sure this wasn't a decision taken lightly. That clearly that discussion has been had, and then they elected to go this route anyway for reasons that they probably won't ever publicly disclose. Because that's the sort of business decision that stays behind the curtain.
Yeah.
As I started out with, I don't know how to interpret this, only because I haven't seen it before. I agree with what you're saying, wife, that if I was a store owner, and we're making an assumption here that there won't be some kind of wholesale or bulk discount for a store to then stock it.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then I think that's also great. It's also one thing that I was thinking about was that, you're playing and you want to, I want to grab a random box because I'm out at the store and I want to grab a random box and I've been playing all day, whatever.
Yeah, people impulse buy that sort of thing all the time.
Yeah. I don't enjoy the delayed gratification of waiting 2 days to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully everything is prime shippable so it can come in a day or two.
Right.
but that's mostly because I'm possibly the most impatient human being on the face of the planet. So
That is true, wife. But
I
I
have recognized it. I accept my feelings.
I think this is one of those things that until we get additional details about it, I not to be a broken record, but I have no idea how to acknowledge this. That okay, fine, they're self-distributing, but is there a discount for bulk or wholesale? Is there going to be any sort of incentive to get stores to continue running the organized play programs, to continue doing stuff? Right now, Delivery Crab has been running their third-party tournament circuit, and then obviously there's stores that will run Play Fusion events because it is always good to get the bodies in the store. Because for a lot of stores, the money, yes, you sell product, but the reality is that a lot of your money is made off of like selling sodas or candy or sleeves or other consumable items that people will impulse buy. Like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be you impulse buy a case of boxes. It's you impulse buy, and there's, if there's 50 people there and they impulse buy a bunch of sodas and stuff like that, that's how you keep the lights on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to be selling product as well, but to me, hosting an event, I don't think many stores would necessarily have a problem if you can provide the bodies. So if there are enough people there and they know they're going to sell, everybody comes in and buys a pack of sleeves, everybody comes in and buys a couple waters, everybody comes in and buys whatever, they're fine with that. I don't think there's going to be a problem on that front. Obviously, stocking the physical product is where the question comes in, and we don't have any information outside of this press release right now.
No, but we'll see what the future brings us.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially given all of the other things that have been going on with the game. That, I mean, maybe it's just time, like it had to happen, but there's a lot of information on here. It feels like it was kind of, like slid right in there kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it is a big change, or a potentially big change.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how this shakes out. I'm very curious, if nothing else, to see how it turns out, because again, this is something new for me, and I've been playing card games for a long time.
Yeah. So it could potentially help people who, don't live near a card store or a game store, because we are blessed on the East Coast to be really close to everybody at like a lot of different places. So people out in the Midwest and the far West, and they have to travel 2 or 3 hours to get to the closest game store, can help them a lot too. So that could be positive.
Yep. Yeah, there's no reason to look at it as a solely negative. It really is just a big question mark for me personally. And we'll see whether time shows that it's kind to this sort of change or it's not. So that's not the major news item, but all of the major news items, because as we start out with, there's a lot. Yes. Anything that you wanted to re-highlight from that list, wife?
Nope, it's just we gotta see what the future will bring, and we have some hints as to what the future is going to bring in another route.
Sure. So let's dive into said future. So again, I want to preface this with, we made every effort to try and make sure, and I'm going to try and call out who the spoilers belong to. Play Fusion was kind enough, including us, so you can check out one of our previous shows where we previewed Tech Tuesday and a number of tech cards that are going to be in Uprising. There are a number of content creators that were given previews, and I want to make sure that we give them their due. If we incorrectly attributed it or missed attributing it to someone and instead said it was Play Fusion revealed, my apologies. It's nothing personal. We just made a mistake.
Yeah.
Feel free to correct us if that is the case.
Yes.
So first set up, and we're not going in any particular order, this was Filthy Phil, and you can find him in a number of groups. You can find him on Twitter, and he revealed a number of astral cards for us.
All right.
So the first one up is Anti-Gravity Bot. It's a gravity buff, as you'd imagine. It's a robot. Well, it's a X2, X2 buff, draw one card face up. If it's not gravity, deal rotation damage to your target. So it's draw 2, possibly deal 4, which is, I don't know. It's unique to me that it has the family that it is outside of the usual ones. Robots don't typically show up in Astral.
Mm-hmm.
They're very rare outside of tech. In fact, I'm looking at the card database now. Pre-Uprising, there are literally none outside of tech.
Yeah.
So that's notable.
So this is a start. Yeah, that's definitely a start.
Does the card set your world on fire, wife?
Not really. It does possibly 4 damage if it lives.
I think
draws you 2 cards. That's fine.
I think the important thing to me is the card draw, not the damage. The damage is almost incidental, but the fact that it's in gravity, meaning that it is in the portion of Astral that already gets resets, such as Icona Archaeologist, Gravity Meddler, etc., in addition to having access to the machine and robot resets. So we're specifically thinking of some of our favorite Creebles. And that allows it to do some things that maybe it wouldn't otherwise be able to. Trying to pull up the card right now from the database. It's Careless Mechanic, but he is a Creeble. It's take 1 damage, mechanical, restart all your machine and robot buffs. So in this particular case, that means 2 extra cards if it keeps ticking. It means 4 extra damage if it keeps ticking. It's more going to be, I think, if you're looking for an extra buff in that theme. Like, this is not the first one you're reaching for, but I think it's solid enough possibly to justify some deck slots simply because of the card draw. It replaces itself on the first rotation corner, which is nice.
Yeah.
It seems like it has potential to be playable.
It could. I think, like what you said, if it's to fill out a deck that's going on a theme, I think there.
Yeah, given the resurgence of and the bolstering of the family cards, there's the potential that this could be there. I could see this seeing play. I could also see it being left in a lot of binders or boxes, as the case may be. So this is one I'm going to wait on, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. Now our next one, again, from Filthy Phil, is Lush Lost Explorer. It's a solar attack card, 1 damage. You draw 1 card face up. If it's a lunar, you heal for 3. If it's gravity, you get an additional action. I assume most people are going to care about the action, if they care at all.
I feel like most people are going to care about the action. I do want to point out that this girl is obviously living my best life, so that makes me excited.
Is she?
She's like kind of being an art, like it's kind of like Icona Archaeologist, who's also living my best life. It's the 2 of them combined.
Sure.
But I like this. I think this card's solid enough that I could see play.
Really?
I think I
don't see a reason that you would ever play this over Gravity Slug or what's the Anti-Gravity Snail, not Gravity Slug.
Yeah.
Where that's 2 damage, draw a card face up. If it's not gravity, increase the damage by 2. So you're dealing 4. It's deal a damage, get an action. So the only place I see this showing up is in some kind of combo deck that's just going, I want all the actions and just constantly looping things. But it doesn't give you a unrestricted action. So it's chewing up your solar for the turn. Unless, of course, you're superior. I don't know. I don't really like this thing.
I think I'm curious to see like what type of combos can come from it, because that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah,
because with that extra action, I think it gives a bit more playing room. So I think it's solid enough that it's going to see some play.
Anytime where you see gain an extra action, you have to at least keep it at the back of your head, because there's the potential that it'll be something. I'm not a huge fan of this one, but it's okay if you disagree, wife.
I do disagree. It gives me a card and an extra action. Who could ask for anything more?
It does replace itself. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not seeing it, but I'm not super excited yet. So our next one is a combo defend. It's solar gravity and it's muddled star signs. This has a very Doctor Strange feel to it.
Yeah, it definitely does.
So this is 7 damage to your target. If your last discarded card is a Creeble, attack or defend, apply its effects. I really like this combo.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent, especially with the amount of creebles that we've seen.
Of course.
So with the amount of creebles, I think it's definitely gonna see play quite a bit. It only costs 2. I think it's gonna be good.
Although, to be fair, in my head, I was thinking Umbron Informant, and it's Creebles, because obviously Umbron Informant is an Umbron, not a Creeble.
This is true.
So that does dampen my excitement momentarily, but I think that it's not unreasonable for this card to be a 2-cost 10+ damage combo. And the question obviously remains is, are there enough Creebles that you are not feeling terrible about running? I'm not sure if we've seen enough actual astral Creebles yet. Clearly, there's a number that you can run across the different orders. But I could easily see if there is an astral Creeble deck, clearly you're running this. Obviously, because it's just, oh, and by the way, my combo does these other things. I don't know if because it specifically needs an attack or defend one that limits it even further. But I think if at the end of the day, this is a 2-cost 12 damage combo, you're probably fine with that. And our special co-host is there if anybody's wondering.
Yes, and I think she agrees with Dad that you're going to feel okay when this comes down.
Yeah, this seems like there's definitely potential to it, and that we'll probably, I mean, everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people I know I'm going to be trying a variety of Creeble builds, so this will end up being in lists at least at the beginning. And I don't think it's going to be that hard. Again, even if it's only a 10 damage combo, I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, and I mean, only 10 damage is pretty decent.
It's a pretty good shot. So
it's a pretty good one.
So moving from there, we have a rare buff, Nightglade Kennel. It's a lunar buff. It's a location. 3/2/1 clunky corners all around. When you draw a beast card, you may reveal it to corner 1, heal. Corner 2, deal damage. Corner 3, remove that many action buffs from your target. Unless we start seeing Beast Star whatever Calic, the guy that once per game you can shuffle your hand in, draw that many cards, that astral hero.
Yeah.
I think it's Calic, right? I gotta look his name up. Star Tamer Calic.
Yeah.
So his ability is shuffle your hand back into your deck, draw that many cards. This can only be used once per game. So the intent there is you slam this, you activate the ability, shuffle your hand in, trigger all the corners at once. That is okay. The only corner I care about on this is the last one.
Yeah,
to be
definitely.
perfectly honest. Dealing 2 and healing 3 is kind of whatever, unless there's a way to boost it. I'm not really excited about this one.
Nor am I. So
I want to be, because I love the beast cards, but I'm just not. It feels like unless you're doing a Star Tamer thing where you get multiple corners in a single shot, you're probably never getting to the corner that you care about. And granted, it's clunky, so you could just wait to activate it to some extent. You could Selene to trigger 2 corners, and then it's just waiting there, daring your opponent to walk into a buff removal. But I don't know. I feel like I'd rather just run the standard astral buff removal.
I agree.
So yeah, any other thoughts about those 4 reveals, wife?
Nope. That pretty much covered all of them, so we'll move on.
All right, so our next one up are Joshua Torres, and I apologize if I'm not saying your name correctly, but I'm very excited about the spoilers that you got.
Yes.
So these are Dread spoilers, and the first one up is Eternal Hunter, who is quite literally the big bad wolf.
Yes.
So this is what?
A very big bad wolf.
Yeah, you don't realize it's like, oh, well, there's a wolf, and then you look in the corner and you're like, oh, there's a little dude there. That wolf is like 5 stories tall.
I like it. It's a puppy.
So, Eternal Hunter is a Death Defend card. It's an undead card, which is important. You may search your deck for an Umbron card and draw it face up. If it's a Dread card, you may play it without consuming an action. So, I really like this card.
Yeah.
I play, I was playing Spooky Scary Skeletons. Like, I want to play undead because I try and do it in virtually every game that I play.
Yes, you do.
Now, the thing is that there's a correlation or connection between the Umbron and Necromancy, I guess. So one of the cards that I'm really excited to use with Eternal Hunter is Umbron Necrolord, and that gives you essentially a free action every turn in an undead deck, because at the beginning of your turn, when it rotates, you may move rotation valid undead buffs from your hand directly into play. So Eternal Hunter means, okay, I'll go get it from my deck and put it right into play. So think of it as a Tantosian Blacksmith for Umbron Necrolord, because if you're playing undead, you're playing it.
Yeah, and I think this is a really strong card. I agree with everything you just said, and I was going to make the Tantosian Blacksmith reference, so you already did that. So, whatever.
See, we've been living together long enough that we can do that.
Way too long.
So, but of note, there are a couple other, and I'm sure we'll get more Umbrons that are relevant. So, for example, Umbron Terror Guard. It has 2 blank corners. It's a burn card, but you're immune to damage while you're 10 or less, and you draw a card when it expires. You may only want a singleton copy of it because clearly you don't, they're useless until the end of the game.
Yeah.
But, your opponent...
Hunter fixes that.
Yeah, your opponent's setting you up to get killed. Well, guess what? You can run 3 Eternal Hunters to primarily get your Necrolords, but then when you need to, go get the Terror Guard. Yeah. Or if there is a dedicated Dread Umbron deck that, it's actually focused on the Umbron part of things, not the rest, you can play Umbron Sergeant and go get it and then draw a bunch of cards. Because it not only tutors the card, it also plays it. Like, it just gives you so many options. I'm really excited to play this card.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on the Big Bad Wolf Wife?
Nope. I just knew you were going to like it, and I agree. It's going to be a pretty strong card.
This card, actually really excites me to play it. I really want to play it.
I knew it would.
And it is a rare, so it's going to be a little more difficult to acquire, but that's going to be one of my first goals.
Yep.
So the next one is Shady Recruiter, which is also another card that I'm pretty excited. Not as excited, but I'm pretty excited about. Mm-hmm. So it's an Umbron card. So if you want to chain tutors for some reason, you could do it. It's a Shadow Defend. Move up to 2 Creeble cards from your deck to your hand. I like this card, but I'm not nearly as excited.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the exact way to put it. I'm excited about it. I'm not as excited as about the Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, and again, broken record time, dead horse pulverizing time, whatever you prefer. It's going to depend on what the Creeble cards are. What are there Creeble cards that you really want to make sure that you see every single game? Because then this effectively gives you extra copies of it. I don't like it as much because it doesn't immediately play it. We've already seen these sort of effects, for example, in Supply Carrier, which is not a Dread card. It's a Soul card, nature, but it tutors for 2 item cards and puts them in your hand. Oh, and it also heals for 2. Now, granted, that card has to line up against Tantosian Blacksmith, so it has a different set of, competing cards for the same slot. But right now, I'm not sure what the Dread Creeble deck looks like.
Yeah, and I think, what you just said with competing, this is kind of an Umbron competing with Creebles, almost, it feels like, so...
Well, I mean, it's obviously intended to be, the supplement to your Dread Creeble deck. Or maybe
Yeah.
if you're a different Creeble deck that's splashing for Shadow, which is not an uncommon thing to do, to splash into Shadow. If there are Creebles that have abilities that you want to utilize, then you could splash into Shadow for this and Abyss Tentacles. And congratulations, there's your deck.
Yeah.
I think that this could see play, but I'm leaning towards that it won't. I don't, and this is again solely based off of, I was really excited by Supply Carrier, and then it just turns out there isn't a home for it right now. This doesn't have Tantosian Blacksmith hanging over it, so maybe that's enough. But I don't know. I see this, a lot of people trying this and then it falling by the wayside unless there's a Creeble that goes, yep, you play me every game and you win, so I want extra copies of it. That's how I'd see it getting sleeved up.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about his next one.
So Skeletal Ward is a double death combo buff, so death. As this enters play, heal for 6. Cancel the next combo attack against you. Why did you want to talk about this one, wife?
Mostly because the artwork is so badass.
Yeah, the artwork's pretty sweet.
That's like, I know I talk about it a lot with this game, but I really love the artwork in this card. I think he looks really awesome. Like, kind of like a mixture of a Centurion mixed with Viking mixed with awesomeness.
I appreciate the artwork for sure. So it does bother me that no combos get family tags. Quite clearly, this is an undead one.
Right?
And obviously there are a number of others that are along the same realm, but I understand why they're not. I'm sure we'll eventually get them, sets from now, but it always feels weird that there's no little skeleton face in the corner on this, or on the side of this. As an actual card, I guess I'm okay with this. It seems decent.
Yeah.
It's nothing you really want to write home about. I really have a hard time seeing this actually getting played, though, unless you were really out of options.
Yeah, I honestly don't think it'll see play that much. Honestly, I would try to build a deck that would fit it in just because I like the artwork, and I'll probably end up having to cut it in the last round of cuts. But
yeah,
that was mostly the reason I wanted to talk about it, was how much I like the artwork.
Now, that being said, I mean, I don't know, I'm even second guessing myself, because I was going to say, if combo attacks are a thing, then, you can just reach for this because it negates one of their attacks, plus it's going to eat their combo attack, but what's going to happen in reality is they're just going to buff remove it, and you're just, okay. Yeah. And it was just a combo heal 6, which is not exciting, so.
No.
I guess at the end of the day, that guy's probably not going to make it, so those were the Joshua Torres Dread reveals, and I have to say, those were some pretty good reveals, overall, and it may just be because we're so excited about Eternal Hunter, but I think it made the other ones feel good too.
Yeah, it did.
So the next set are actually multi-order ones that we got from Razor Greshu, who's one of the premier streamers, and I know he actually tonight is streaming with Delivery Crab, or doing a podcast with Delivery Crab on his stream, or whatever you want to call it, at the time of this recording. So I'll have to check that out later. But he had some very interesting reveals, and we have a bunch of multi-order combos.
Yes, we do.
So the first one up is Midnight Bloom. It is Astral Nature. It's combo defend. Restart one of your buffs. Remove one buff from another hero, and then gain 2 additional actions. And I think literally every one of the multi-order combos is playable. This one is no exception.
Yeah, I think it's definitely playable. Restarting a buff, we talked about last or 2 recordings ago. I think that's going to be really strong in this set. Removing a buff from another hero is obviously always strong.
Yep.
And then 2 freaking additional actions. That's awesome. 2 additional actions is awesome.
Our co-host is very excited about it too. She couldn't believe it that you got 2 actions. I know. It's actually... So I don't know what clearly this gets run in Farapang. Obviously.
Well, yeah.
And I think it's very important there. Now, outside of Farapang, I don't know what that deck looks like yet.
Yeah.
But if there is, I mean, it sounds silly if you spend more than a second thinking about it, but clearly, if you're running an Astral Nature deck, you're including this. Like,
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to justify not. And there are scenarios where I could say, yes, you are in those factions, but don't run their multi-order combo because of reasons. I think this one's going to make the cut every time.
Yeah.
It just lets you do too many things.
This one better make the cut. Like,
it also feels,
unless something insane comes in like the next couple weeks, I think this has to make the cut for those.
Here's one thing I want to call out about the multi-order combos this time around. So the previous green-yellow one was Night Hunt, which was deal 2 damage and then move some cards from their hand, like remove some cards from their hand. Like, that didn't, the artwork made sense because it was like Spectral Wolves. And that kind of feels like Astral Nature, the artwork. But the card effect, to me, didn't scream Astral Nature. This does, because they both have restarting buff things. They both have singular buff removal in Reckless Spirit and whatever the Astral card is called that I can never remember.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
It removes 1, but then if you have a Lunar on top, you can remove 2. So basically, well, not basically, but it's not uncommon for it to be a singular buff removal. And then gaining additional actions is also, like, it just feels more green-yellow than the previous one to me.
Yeah.
I expect to see this. I think it really justifies going into that multi-order. So the next one is Strike Slip, which I'm sure you're excited about, wife. So this is a Mountain Storm combo. It's a combo attack, 7 damage. While it's on top of your discard pile, reduce the cost of your combos by 2. So go ahead, tell everybody why you're excited.
Well, first off, I'm super excited that he's surfing, but I mean, I'm also going to be excited for Commodore and my reduced combo deck idea.
It's happening!
It is happening! And I'm
is
really
it though?
It's happening.
Like, this may be one we disagree on, because like so we've talked before about the, having to have things on top and making it complicated to play them. So this is a combo. Yes, it plays into the theme. So if you're going to tell me that it's one of X number of cards that all reduce your combos, okay, fine, I get that. It adds redundancy. If you're telling me this is your combo reducing card, I'm going to look at you funny, because you're relying on a one of and it's a combo in order to power your other combos, and like, what world is that happening in?
This is true, but I think it can. I have faith in my Commodore. I have faith in everybody that's going to help me reduce these combos. And come on, it's a surfing Mari. He's got to be awesome.
I mean, I can, like I said, if the reduce combo cost deck is a thing, and there's the potential that it is, this seems like a reasonable inclusion. Commodore, since it's not he doesn't have a superior element, maybe you're looking to splash things anyway to go get whatever. It probably wouldn't be unreasonable to, there's plenty of mountain items to go find that are worthwhile. I want to see it as another way to make it happen, but then now you're chewing up one of the combo slots that you were trying to reduce.
It does 7 damage. And it only costs 2.
Yeah, but it's only... I know we said the other one that was 7 becomes 10, but it was good because it became double digits. 7 is fine, but I kind of want more out of a combo than just 7.
I'm going to live in my happy place. And I'm also going to shout out to Play Fusion that if you wanted to get rid of, like, the print of this artwork, I would totally take it.
It does look pretty cool, though that Kreeble's having a bad day.
Yeah, he is. But, like, if that's just, like, sitting in the office somewhere, I'll take it. It's fine.
So here's the question. What is that surfboard made out of? Because it looks like a slab of granite or something.
Yes, it does. It does look like a slab of granite.
I will openly profess that I don't surf very often.
I've made you go a
I'm
couple times.
I'm not sure how well a slab of granite would function as a surfboard. I'm
I
not an
mean,
expert. Somebody tell me.
I mean, probably not very well, but maybe in their land
I
it's a
mean, I guess
thing.
if you're a waterbender like the Mari that's on here,
Yeah, it's a thing. It's fine. Just let it be.
okay.
Um,
Any
I still
other
like the
words
artwork.
for it feels like the card name should be Slip Strike as opposed to Strike Slip.
Um,
Does that feel weird to you? It feels weird to
it,
me.
it didn't until you said it, and now maybe.
It's like one of those things where when you say a word enough times, it doesn't seem like a word anymore. And
Yeah,
this is like I've looked at it enough times that like something doesn't seem right. But anyway,
yeah.
uh, any other thoughts, wife, on combo reduction deck?
No, I'm making it happen. It's
No,
going to
well, you're
happen. It's going to be
making
the
it.
first thing I do.
Making it has stop trying to make fetch happen.
Okay, first off, I love that movie, and I know you don't, but it'll happen. It's gonna happen.
We will see, wife. There's plenty
I
of
have the
time.
power.
Do you?
No. All right.
Well,
Let's go back
let's
to
talk
Ghost
about
Warp.
let's talk about the power of Ghost Warp. So this is one that I actually like a lot. It is a Dread Tech combo buff, 4/3/3, rotation damage to your target. So when it comes out, it's already tagging them for 4. When any of your cards are discarded by a card effect, deal rotation damage to your target. So all of you people out there that really can't stand mill decks, well, here's a potential answer. Obviously, they're just going to remove it. So no, it's not really a great answer. But hypothetically, I'm more interested in how many of your own cards can you pitch to feed this thing and just like go off.
And there are a lot, like we talked about 2 episodes ago, there are a lot of pitching effects right now, and I think this is going to be strong.
Yeah, I expect it's going to be, again, potentially a redundant piece or maybe a combo piece where it's, okay, I'm going to build up this gigantic hand and then just go, oh, well, I'll activate this ability that says discard as many cards as I want and then just end the game on the spot.
Right? Yeah.
We'll have to see because I'm sure PlayFusion thought of that scenario as well.
Yes, but I'm in agreement with you that I think this could be nuts, and I'm excited to see if the nuts can happen.
I think it's also just playable even outside of that because it's a 10 damage combo. There are some potential options for restarts or things like that, and I think the artwork's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the artwork's pretty cool, but it's not a surfing Mari, so...
Well, he's given me, like, a very Lex Luthor vibe.
I mean, yeah, but see, there's this, like, nice blank space of wall that would look great with a surfing Mari on it that I'm looking at right now.
God, enough with the surfing Maris. So those are the 3 Razor Greshu reveals. We got Midnight Bloom, Strike Slip, and Ghost Warp. I really like all of them. I think Midnight Bloom is probably my favorite, followed by Ghost Warp. Maybe those are pretty close.
They're both pretty strong. And I think they fit in more than just one type of deck, aka my reduced combo cost deck.
But yeah, there's definitely options for each of them, which is the encouraging thing.
Yeah.
So moving from there, we have Bova's reveals, which I think, as I'm looking at this, may have been the oldest reveals at the time of this recording.
Yeah, so these are our oldest ones from the time of this recording because life got in the way there a little bit.
Yep, just a little bit. So the first one up is Midnight Strike. It's another triple element combo, but it's triple lunar and a solar. It's 2/2/2/12, which is a large number on that last corner. The first 3 corners are healing and the last corner is damage. So this is like taking a page out of the tech book, where it's irrelevant corners and then big number on the end.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm not really enthused by this one.
No. Yeah, I agree completely. I think it's going to get removed before you get to the corner 12.
And that's like a big investment.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that there is the outside chance that due to the fact that Reality Rift exists, you could discard this to any of the plethora of ways where it's just discard a card and then reality rift it right into play. But even then, you still got to wait 4 turns for it to do the relevant part.
Yeah, to me, honestly, the biggest issue is going to be waiting for the relevancy to happen, and I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, it's just, I don't. Yes, there's probably some weird combo thing where you can, like, combo deck, not combo the card type to rotate it faster, but this just feels like a lot of effort for not enough.
Yeah.
So, moving from there, we have Vibrant Plumetail. I almost said Violent Plumetail, but
I mean, it could be a violent, vibrant Plumetail.
maybe. So it's X2, X2. It's a buff, in case you couldn't tell. It's a beast buff. And it deals rotation damage to your target. Increase this by 2 if your last discarded card is not Astral. I don't think I'm ever playing this card.
No, I don't think so either.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just, there's not a whole lot to say. Squidgy agrees.
Yes.
Or is she upset that we didn't spend more time on the pseudo peacock?
I think she likes the yellow of the pseudo peacock, but she'll get over it.
Well, because we have more yellow cards to discuss.
There's more yellow to come.
So we have Dusk Snout Defender, a Creeble for all you Creeble fans out there. It's a lunar buff, X22. Rotation healing. If your last discarded card is solar, you deal rotation damage to your target. Otherwise, you take 1 damage. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. That's a pretty good indicator of my emotions toward this card.
He's got a really cool looking belt buckle.
Yeah.
Like,
he's got the Creeble symbol for his belt buckle, and that's about what we got
cool.
there.
Aside from that, like, I just, maybe there's a so because it requires solar, there's the potential this could be utilized to trigger all of those tech cards that care whether you've dealt damage to yourself. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing it. So if somebody out there sees it, tell me, but I'm not seeing it right now.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Yeah, we'll move on from there. So the next one is at least more entertaining visually.
Yes, it is.
Balloonist. So it's a clunky buff, 4, 4, 5, 6. So we got some big numbers. Creeble, naturally. Attack ability, rotation damage. You draw 1 card face up. If that card is not gravity, remove this buff. So you're playing mono gravity.
Yeah.
If you can get this off twice, this is really strong.
Yeah, if is a big word, but if you can make it happen twice, I think that's big.
Well, okay, so maybe really strong is a little extreme. So deal 4, draw card is pretty good. Like, that's playable. But you had to sink an action into playing it and then an action into activating it. So you might have to get to the 3rd corner before it's really, like, getting over the action economy hump. And obviously you have to clearly dance around the fact that it's, if it's not gravity, you're up a creek. That being said, there might be quantity-wise enough gravity cards to basically be mono gravity and make this a thing.
And especially with what we've seen, even after this was initially released, there is a chance. I think I might be stretching it a little bit, but I can see it happening. I just think it would be one of those things you really have to play with and fine tune.
I think I'm going to try it. I really do. I don't know if it's really going to be tier 1 competitive. I doubt it will be. Because going mono gravity, you're limiting yourself so much, but it does introduce an interesting deck building constraint as opposed to, well, build with families or build towards this multi-order or build towards this. It's, no, you play this one element and, like, that's your element. And it's important to note that gravity is the buff removal element, which is an important thing. I don't know how much healing and damage reduction you get out of there. Probably not a whole lot. I really wish that the bomb in his hand just said Acme on it, though.
That would be cool, but is it sewn together? Is it a sewn together bomb? Because that seems like a really dangerous building technique.
Well, he's in a war balloon.
I'm just saying.
I think we probably need to question many things. So here's my other question. Do you think his ears are tattooed? Or do you think that, because I don't think we've seen a Creeble where the tips of their ears are orange like that before.
No, we have.
Have we?
Yeah.
I'll take your word on it.
Later this talk.
Okay. I don't remember, because I try and look for these things. I'm very curious if like these markings are indicative of a tribe, a country, a faction, or whatever, or is it something almost with like, regional differences, or is it, like I said, a tattoo, or is it, whatever? Yeah. I'm very curious about the lore aspect. Or is it just this guy burned his ears, so when Creebles get burned, their ears, they turn orange? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're just a little crazy, because pretty much all the Creebles that I am now going back to look at have the orange tips. So you've just lost your mind a little bit, yeah.
I just must never have noticed it prior to this.
Literally all of them.
Okay. I'll take your word on it, wife. Narrator says no, he won't.
No, he won't, but I'm still right. The wife is always right.
Is she, though?
Just go to the next card.
Anyway, so that's all the Bova reveals, wife.
Yes, those are all the Bova reveals.
So
sorry that it took us so long to get to them.
So yes, apologies out there. Shout out to Bova, the Bova clan. So now we're into what I believe are all of the official PlayFusion Direct reveals. And again, as we started out with, if we misattributed or missed a shout out for someone, my apologies. Feel free to correct us, and sorry about that if it happens.
Yeah.
So these are in no real particular order, because since we were missing them for so long, we just wanted to make sure we got them all down.
Yeah.
So the first one up is Deep Sea Hunter Rack. He's 30 health Storm Hero, superior water ability, discard one water card to move up to one unaligned action card from your deck to your hand. So he has a built-in tutor and fits the I'm throwing stuff away theme. I like the potential for this guy. I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
Other than... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, other than like I agree. I like the potential. He fits the theme, the newish theme of discarding your own cards to make other things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what those other things are going to be.
I think he's a multi-order hero. The reason I say that is you can just discard a water card and make sure you have Tantosian Blacksmith.
Yeah.
He also... you could go find Umbron Informants. You could go find... There's a decent number of unaligned cards that are worth going to find.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if that's enough to build an entire deck around yet.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on Deep Sea Hunter Wife?
Nope, you pretty much got all my thoughts on that one.
Are those Rain's tentacles, or is it like kelp? They look like tentacles to me.
They're tentacles. I didn't even think they were Rains. I thought he was beating the crap out of some tentacled monster.
I don't know, like because of the way the card art is where the elements are, it feels like he's riding a chariot or something.
Oh, see, in my head, he's like, we are the tentacled monster that he is fighting, and he's about to hit us with our own tentacle and do like the grade school, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
All right, we're moving on. That's enough.
Yeah,
we're done with that. So Flame Hurler. It's a fire buff. It's a machine. X2/2. When you play a fire card, deal rotation damage to your target. I feel like if there's going to be a fire deck, this probably wants to be in there, but I don't want to play fire cards for the most part.
Yeah. That seems like a pretty accurate summary and succinct summary of that card.
Yep. If this exists, this deck exists, you'll probably play this. I just don't think this deck exists right now. And I'm not sure it's going to. It needs help. Fire's kind of been in the dumps. So moving from there, we have a wildly inappropriate Creeble on Grubby Pool. So
You gotta love the wildly inappropriate Creeble.
Of
Go
course you
on.
do. So it's a water buff. It's 2s on 4 corners. It's a location buff, and all the 2s are clunky. You have rotation healing when you play a Creeble card. So hypothetically, you're healing for 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. The artwork's probably the best part about this card.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of these, like, and you had mentioned it in relation to something completely different, wife, but the delayed gratification on these, because obviously it wants to be played alongside something that increases it so that you're getting, you're making up the fact that it takes turns to get the value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't see a reason to play this over a defend card that says heal 6. Like, that's a card you could play. Why would I don't see it.
Yeah.
The artwork's funny though.
Yes, it is.
This one though, the artwork is wild, and I think it's much more playable. This is Gutbelt Shaman. So
yes,
it's a poison buff. It's a Creeble. 4 corners, but they're all blank. The reason being is damage from your poison cards bypasses damage reducing effects. When any of your cards are discarded by a card effect, restart this buff. Congratulations, Grimus. I'm pretty sure you're going to be tier 1.
Yes. I'm pretty sure the second this card came out, I got 95 texts in a row saying Grimus, 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 Grimus. That was all I heard.
Seriously, Grimus is probably a thing. He felt close before, and now there's just so much extra help. And importantly, maybe most importantly, this is a poison buff itself. So Grimus helps protect him.
Yeah.
So it's now your opponent really, really has to think about which of those buffs actually matter. Now, when any of your cards are discarded by a card effect, obviously, again, there's a theme with this set of self-discard. You can continually reset this. This card seemed crazy to me.
Yeah, it does.
Like, it seems really strong.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And you were wrong. They don't all have orange ears. He has purple ears. You know why? Because he's a dread card.
And because he's poisony. He's got boils all over his face. He does not count.
What do you mean he doesn't count?
He doesn't count. He has boils all over his face. He's quite clearly, like, knocking on heaven's door.
Just get my man some antibiotics. He's going to be fine.
Do they have antibiotics?
Or maybe not antibiotics. It's probably a reaction to, I would say, poison, which antibiotics probably aren't going to do it. So get him some anti-venom or something.
Yeah, no. Anyway.
The antidote! Anyway.
Get out of here. Go to the next card.
Hired Saboteur. So we have an unaligned Creeble. XX5, it's clearly a buff. At the end of your turn, deal rotation damage to your target. Remove any buffs that reduce this damage after they have reduced it. I don't really care about this card.
Yeah. He's funny looking. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this artwork.
I think it's just that it seems almost like a different type of artwork.
Yeah, there's definitely a humongous contrast. And that's always been the case with Lightseekers, where you look at some of the astral cards and it's like an impressive painting and, it's very abstract, or, you can get the whole astral, the galaxy, those sort of astrological themes. And then you have stuff like this guy.
Yeah.
He looks like Looney Tunes, which is not bad because I love me some Looney Tunes, but it's definitely like you line the two cards up and you're like, wow, it's hard to tell sometimes
definitely
they're from the
different.
same game. Yeah. As a card, I don't care. What about you?
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah. No. Just don't care. Hive Flusher. That's a difficult name.
That's a hell of a name.
Yeah. So, it's a water defend card. It's a Creeble. 4 healing, remove 1 insectoid buff from another hero. Right now, this card is awful.
Yeah, it is.
However, I could see insectoids with some of the other previews maybe making a resurgence. It's still, you're probably only ever going to sideboard this.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like, the insectoid deck would have to be an aggro insectoid deck that is based on buffs.
Mm-hmm.
Or an aggro deck that happens to run in specifically insectoid buffs for you to want both of these parts, as opposed to just a better healing card or just a buff removal card that are more universal. So I don't anticipate we're going to see this. I also don't like this sort of card design where it's so linear and a hate card, where it just hates a specific thing as opposed to a specific strategy. Which feels like it may be splitting hairs, but really it's not in the game world.
No, it's really not, because you don't know who you're going to get paired up with round 1, round 2.
And it feels really bad that, like, oh, well, my opponent decided to pack 3 Hive Flushers main deck because they just get creeped out by creepy crawlies.
I mean, that's a fair reason to do it, to be honest, because creepy crawly things are creepy.
Yeah. And it is that time. All those multi-legged friends are coming out of the woodwork, quite literally.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Now I'm, like, terrified looking around the room. It's fine.
So, I don't like this card as a card, like playing it. And I also don't like the card design-wise, personally.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first one. I'm not picking on this one, but there's a number where it's like, we'll specifically destroy this kind of thing. Yeah, she's got the right idea. Not a fan.
Yeah.
So we'll move on. Jack of all trades. This is a double crystal combo buff. 4, 3, 1, 1. Corner 1, you deal rotation damage to your target. Corner 2, you heal. Corner 3, you draw. Corner 4, you gain that many additional actions. Great. If this ever goes off, it's still, I don't know.
No.
I don't like this.
No, I don't either.
I don't get what the colored stones are either right now.
I have an answer, but it goes back to our regular life of they're the Power Ranger Energems.
No, they're not. We're moving on. No more Power Rangers. Enough of Power Rangers. I mean, the reality is those stones are, there's a nature stone, there's a storm stone, there's a dread stone, there's a mountain stone. Why there's only 4? I don't know. Like, I guess Tech doesn't
Astral doesn't
count.
Get a stone?
Yeah, or Tech. I don't know. Maybe that one is supposed to be Tech.
I think the one in the end is supposed to be Tech.
But then is Astral the background?
I mean, Astral doesn't get a stone because it's in the sky.
Also, does he have different numbers of fingers on each of his hands? He only has 2 fingers on his left hand.
Yeah.
There's a story behind that, but we'll save that for another time. Don't worry, we'll talk about the story sometime. If we make it up or we'll hear about it, I don't know. Anyway.
One day.
So here's another funny artwork card. Creeble Racer. So it's a explosive buff, 1/1/1, obviously a Creeble. Increased damage done to other heroes by 1. So Tech doesn't get a whole lot of these, so that's notable. Rotate this 1 step backwards when you play an explosive card. Also pretty cool. When this buff expires, take 2 damage and remove the buff to its right. Who cares? You're playing this in an aggro deck.
Yeah, you are.
So here's the thing. You're our aggro expert, wife. Do you want to waste deck slots on a card that doesn't actually do any damage itself?
Not really.
This feels like it does so many things, and it feels like it's never going to expire. Like, it just will never expire.
No.
You're always going to reset it.
Never expire. Like, you should be playing it so it doesn't expire, but I would rather save the deck space and just smash your face in for an automatic extra 4.
Well, you need to play a lot of cards. So if you're playing, say, a Deal 6 card, in order to make up, like, instead of playing a Deal 6, you're playing this, you need to play a lot more cards to just get the 6 damage that you could have had. So any other thoughts on Creeble Racer, wife? I think I like this card as a whole. I don't anticipate that it's going to show up in a lot of aggressive decks, although that may be where everybody thinks initially, because it does seem to lend itself to that. Obviously, explosives as an element falls into that category generally, but I think that aggressive decks are going to want a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're going to want a little bit more, but like you said, I think it might show up. I don't think it'll show up terribly frequently, but maybe.
We'll have to see. I do like it in general, so I'm excited to try it out. Hopefully it'll find a home, because I think this is the kind of card that encourages... I'm thinking of the right word. I don't want to say correct deck building, but it influences deck building in a way that I like, because it gives you an incentive as opposed to requiring, which, that's a very fine line to walk. Plus, it also... the bad things about it don't happen when it's removed, it's when it expires. So if you're building your deck correctly and playing it properly, you should never get tagged with the negative part of it.
Yeah.
And it also, again, does something unique that tech doesn't often have access to, and that's a amplifying buff.
Yes, this is true.
So there's definitely a lot of positives about it. It's just, I don't know if it quite has the right power level. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I agree with that. So what's up next, husband?
So next we have Creeble Reconstructor. It's a mechanical attack, of course, a Creeble. It's burn, 2 damage. If your last discarded card is a robot buff, move it back into play, and I will be playing this a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You just love your robots. But
well, it's not just that. Like, let's be real. This sort of effect is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it in a number of other cards.
Yeah, moving anything into play like directly in this game is really powerful.
So it's interesting that, and other games have done this, where it's, and obviously I'm thinking of Magic, but that's not the only one, where there's an incredibly powerful card early on in the game's lifespan, right? And then later on, the designers kind of go, you know what, that's a cool effect, but clearly we can't have it with the way it was because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So then they release, we'll call them fixed versions of certain cards. So the one in this case that I'm thinking of is Geode Hatchling.
Yeah.
And Geode Hatchling, any excuse I had to play Geode Hatchling, I use Geode Hatchling. So anytime I see this effect, and there's a beast version of this too that I constantly try and play around with, I always want to try and make room for it. I would much rather if this was a defend. Main reason being is I want to avoid those exterior defender effects, which we keep bringing up, but haven't actually seen a replacement for. But I'm sure there will be something. This effect is just potentially incredibly strong, and the fact that they've now narrowed it, PlayFusion has narrowed it to just robot buffs, means that they can get a little more wild, a little more crazy with some of the effects, because it's not, oh, well, we have to worry about the whole set of buffs. It's just the robot buffs that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a Creeble, so, you get the potential chance for all those other Creeble cards.
Yeah, and I think Creeble's robot, I kind of want to see a big, massive Creeble robot now.
We did, wife.
I know.
Did you already forget about Creebot?
No, I didn't forget about Creebot, but I want bigger.
You're damn right you didn't forget about Creebot.
Anyway.
No one forgets about the Creebot. Anyway, and also, do you like this card, wife? You sound like you're not very excited by it.
I think it's fine. I don't know. I need to see more robots to get me even more excited.
I mean, I get that. It just, remember, there's also a number of cards that say discard a card intentionally. So it's not even necessarily a matter of, oh, well, your robot was a buff. They happen to pop your buffs in the wrong order, so you can't activate this. There are other ways to ensure that there's a robot buff on top of your discard pile.
Yeah.
Aside from just, playing a million of them. I expect to see this thing. I'm definitely playing it, and I expect that it's going to show up a lot, especially if robots are a thing.
I think you're absolutely right with that. So, if robots are a thing, more than anything.
Right. What about Krub the Collector? So he's our 29 health Crystal Superior hero. Draw 1 card when any of your crystal buffs are removed by another hero. So we've seen similar effects on other heroes previously.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, they weren't that thrilling in other places. I mean, this is fine as a deterrent. It's like,
yeah, I don't think he'll be seeing too much play.
So I feel this
Yeah.
is kind of a trap, I feel like. Because and trap for the person who wants to play it, because it's like, oh, well, I'm deterring my opponent from playing any kind of buff removal. And then or they have to either leave it and I get the buff effect, or they remove it and I get to replace it, which is fine. But you could also have a more relevant, like, this helps you not lose as opposed to helping you win, which
Yeah,
again is another fine line.
Yeah, and I've definitely fallen into that trap before. This helps me not lose. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then I'm realizing, I'm like, I'm not actually doing anything.
Yeah, you're not advancing your board state. You're not advancing your game plan, which, again, this is not a bad effect. It's just, what are you giving up on your hero in order to get this effect? And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I'm not hugely excited to play Krub.
Nor am I. I think he's fun, but like look-wise. But other than that, that's all he's got going for him. So what do we have coming up next?
So after that, we have something that I'm a little more excited to play. I'm actually kind of pretty interested in this card, and that's Leafweb Wanderer. So it's a insectoid nature buff, clunky corners, 2/2. When you play an insectoid attack card, gain rotation healing and draw a card. So basically, if you play an insectoid attack, it's doing 2 extra, and now it says draw a card on it.
Which I think if you have an insectoid deck, that's going to be pretty strong, personally.
And that's the biggest issue, is I like the insectoid themes, but the reason I like them is because they're kind of all over the place, so it's kind of hard to not find one that you like.
Yeah.
The other part is that they're, as we said with other families, there just aren't that many insectoids. And of those insectoids, not a whole lot of them are fantastic.
Yeah.
So clearly we'll be getting more. I think I agree with you that if there is an insectoid deck, this is playable in that deck. But as far as actual insectoid attacks outside of Uprising, we're looking at a bunch of 3 and 4 damage things, some variable ones in Infected Wasp and Mantix Raider, where those are based on the number of buffs they have, or based on, you choose a card type and they reveal their hand and you deal damage. Some of the other ones are based on how much health they have, whether they have a lot of cards in hand. The only consistent one is, well, not the only consistent one, because Chronomoth is consistent, but it does a whopping 3. And you draw a card. So now it's deal 5, draw 2. Maybe that's fine, but I don't like cards that are only good when you have other cards to make them good. Like, they're not good enough in a vacuum. Now,
I think you could be right.
Well, let me ask you this, wife. So Mantix Spitter is the one that I didn't mention, which is a poison card. It's just straight up 5 damage. Obviously, you'd rather have a deal 6, but is this exciting you enough to play, like, purple-green aggro?
I think it's helping build the excitement to get me excited to play purple-green aggro. It's on the way there.
Yeah, I just don't... As much as I want to like this card, because this card, I think it's really cool, and I think it's pretty strong, it just doesn't have the support. I don't know if I want to play these other insectoid attack cards that probably are doing between 3 and 5 before this. Most of them 3, some of them 4. Like I said before, it's just, are you going to play cards that are only good when you see Leafweb Wanderer? And if that's the case, are you sure that's really what you want to be doing?
Yeah.
If there are a lot more insectoids, by all means, I'm slamming this thing in the deck, because I think this is good enough to play if there's stuff to support it, or for it to support.
So hopefully we'll see more things for it to support.
Yep. Moving from there, we have Magnetic Smash, which is, as you'd imagine, a tech combo buff. Double mechanical, 3/3/3, Rotation damage to your target. If your enemy has more health than you, heal yourself for 2. I guess Ribrox wants this?
Maybe?
I guess? No, because I guess this counts as immediate healing for Ribrox. The artwork is pretty cool. It reminds me of the Triceratons from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I hadn't thought about it, but yes, it does.
Well, they have, it's a Triceratop-looking creature. They're orange.
Honestly, I'm going to be disowned, but I forgot about this Triceratons. So anyway.
That's because you're bad.
Or it's because I'm younger than you. Anyway.
That's because I can appreciate the finer things in life, wife.
I didn't have cable for a very long time. Just let it go.
Anyway, does this guy have, is he, baning it up? He's, has electrodes directly
I'm pretty
into
sure he
his...
does. I'm almost positive that he is
instead of venom, it's just straight up juice him with electricity?
Pretty much. That's what it looks like to me.
I don't understand the biology of this dude, but that doesn't sound good for anybody involved.
No. No, it does not.
But as far as the card goes, it's fine. If you want a double mechanical, I think this is a decent one. I don't think I'm going out of my way to go find this.
This is either getting used to pay for other things or not getting used at all for me.
You don't think you just, if you wanted a mechanical... Well, most of your decks, you're not playing mechanical. You're going to be playing explosive anyway.
Yeah.
I think I could see this seeing play, but again, you have to want a mechanical deck. I don't know what that deck looks like. Maybe some of the location ones, because I have some weird builds that might see this. I mean, Crumbling Tower, for example, is a location. In my location builds, maybe if they don't lean red and they're instead orange, I could go that route. This could also fit in the robot deck, because a lot of those are naturally mechanical. And, again, you want a mechanical buff? Here you are.
Yeah.
I feel like this might be a 6th combo. It's going to end up getting cut. It'll start.
Yeah, it's going to be right on the bubble.
Because I've mentioned it before, but the way I usually build decks is I'll come up with a deck that's 80 cards, and then I'm just, okay, well, I don't really need this. All right, this is redundant, and blah, blah, blah. And then I whittle it down, and eventually I'll have, 7 combos, and this will be number 6 or 7, and then it might get cut. We'll see.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this one, wife?
No, I think this will be my 6th or 7th combo, like you said. It's fine.
So, moving from there, we have something you might be more excited about. It's Mari Stormguard. So it's a water buff, 3/3/3 clunky corners. Unique. Reduce the first damage you receive per turn by rotation. When your enemy plays a buff, rotate this 1 step forward. I feel like this card is going into every Storm deck.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So, yes, your opponent will eventually remove it, but it's going to require, and I guess the argument against it is if your opponent's playing a buff deck, they're going to remove it by virtue of what they're doing, and they don't have to invest buff removal. To which I say, well, most of the time, I don't know if I care. A lot of the time when I'm playing damage reduction, it's, okay, they're gearing up for a big turn. And even a buff deck would be, okay, well, they've lined up a bunch of buffs that are going to smash me next turn. So I slam this. Granted, it only soaks the first 3, but 3 is an important amount to soak. I don't know. I expect that we're going to see this.
Yeah,
even if nothing else is
a lot.
If nothing else, it's your 4th bubblefish kind of thing.
Yeah. And I kind of like it better than bubblefish. I don't know.
You do have to juggle a bit, because if you order these incorrectly, this after the bubblefish, it's not producing as much and blah, blah, blah. But
yeah,
I think that this is playable.
I definitely think this is playable. Plus, I like my Maris.
And the thing is, so again, for your aggro builds, I think it's just a matter of you just need to squeak in a sufficient amount of damage reduction or healing. You don't need a whole lot. You just need enough to make sure that you get to the finish line before they do.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think that's
mhm,
that's a fair way to put it. I just need to trip it up just enough to get there ahead of you.
exactly. So I think we could see some Mari Storm guards in our future.
More than a few.
So
I'm excited.
moving from there, we have another cross order combo. This is Molteration, which I just wanted. So it's a mountain tech combo buff. Uh, and the first thing that comes to mind when I read the name was molting, like, you know, like they're
It's
molting skin,
of
not
course you did.
not
That's
molten, like, which is the obvious thing. I don't know
well,
why.
I don't know why either, because this Volterra is the name of the place.
What? Say that again.
Volterra. I said Volterra is the name of the place.
Sure. I don't
It's a
know.
thing.
That was the first
Anyway,
thing that came to mind. It was just an aside. It really has nothing to do with anything. So
anyway,
this combo buff is increased damage done to other heroes by 1 and reduced damage received from attacks by 1. When any hero plays a combo, you may rotate one of your buffs to its final corner. This has a lot of really cool effects.
yeah.
I don't know if red orange is a thing. Has that even? I can't even think of a red orange deck up to this point.
I couldn't think of one up to this point, but I started brainstorming one once I saw this card.
So right now, the only red orange hero that we have access to is Truestone, who unfortunately is fire superior, which is a big womp womp.
Yeah.
I think there's a really cool effect. It's really powerful. Because it has the multiple effects, I'm less upset by the fact that the second set of text, so when any hero plays a combo, which obviously includes you, and it's a May, so if it's bad timing, you don't have to use it. But let's face it, we talked about it with some of the other combos. That's just probably not going to happen all that often, especially in these orders. It's not like Storm or something where I recycle all my combos all the time. I think just the effect of increasing your damage and reducing theirs is almost worth it on its own.
Yeah, I think that's pretty strong, and like at least it's decently strong. And then I think adding the rotating things to their final corner is a nice little cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah, it feels like both are kind of a 0.5 kind of effect. Like a 1.5. So when they put it together, it feels a lot better, but it's not. It feels as though the first half is good enough, but at the same time, that's not super exciting. So I think it needed the second, and maybe that's what they were talking about when they designed it, that it needed the second half of text to make it, oh, well, it's super cool because it does this thing, as opposed to the first one where it's like there are plain action buffs that do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think all those are a fair assessment.
I think this is worth playing. I don't know if I really want to play Truestone for it. I feel like it's going to have to find another owner.
Yeah, possibly. Hopefully we see another owner sooner rather than later.
So our next one up, unless you had any other things to say about Molteration Wife, is
that was pretty much it.
Mossfoot Shimmer Rider.
Which is so hard to say.
Yes. I also am very curious what he's riding, because I guess it's called a shimmer. And it's some weird cross between some kind of dinosaur with like a chompy mouth with...
It's like a dinosaur venomous plant almost.
Well, I was going to say like a snail or something, because of the way that the little antenna or whatever on the nose.
For some reason, it reminds me of Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors.
Sure.
Maybe it's just the terrifyingness.
Anyway, so the Shimmer, or Shimmer Rider, rather, is an X5 buff. It's a beast buff, or an animal buff, rather. It's a Creeble, not a beast. If your target has 8 or more cards in their hand, they move, not may, 3 cards from their hand to their deck. Otherwise, they take rotation damage. Sure, whatever. I don't care about this card at all.
Yeah, me either.
I feel as like, why, if you want either of the effects, why aren't you just getting either of the effects? Because what's probably going to happen with this is it's never going to do the part you want it to do.
Yeah.
Because your opponent could play around it. So you play this and they go, oh, well, I don't want to take that damage. Draw some cards. Now, getting to 8 may be difficult, but it depending on the matchup, it feels like it's always going to do the opposite thing that you want.
Or, I mean...
Or they just want to eat the damage and keep their cards.
Or, like, they have, 8 cards in hand, you play this, and they go, okay, well, I'll just play a bunch of cards and not...
Or it's going to be
play down below 8.
Or it's going to be a big who cares when they do it. Like, okay, I'll because you choose the 3 cards, so it's just okay.
Yeah.
Shuffle them back. I don't know. I don't like this thing.
Yeah. I don't either.
So we're going to move on. Poisonous Mist. Although you were under the impression that we already went over this one, wife.
I was under the impression that we already went over this
one.
So
we're going to skip this one. Apologies if we didn't. So moving on from there, Potion Master Mixie, which I love the name.
Yeah, it's a pretty excellent name.
It's like that's a good pun. I'll give them that. they're clever with that.
You and your dad jokes.
I see you. I see what you did there. But anyway, so she's a 28 health astral hero, no superior elements. When you play a Creeble, reveal the top card of your deck. If the revealed card is solar, deal 1 to your target. If it's gravity, heal for 1. If it's neither, you take 1, then move it to the bottom of your deck. Quite clearly, you're going to build your deck into solar and gravity. This one, I like it, but okay, so I'm going to assume that you're going to have to play it as an aggressive deck.
Yeah.
Because the doing the extra damage feels like it's more important.
I think you're right there.
But, I don't know. The lack of having a superior element, I think here, normally I wouldn't care that much, but here it matters because, okay, well, if you have to grab Creebles outside of Astral, or even just outside of Solar or Gravity,
yeah,
it doesn't matter that you're putting them on the bottom, but now you're putting negative effects, plus you're going to want to lean into Unaligned because you don't have a superior element.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you can't even I'll splash other orders for their Creebles. And then if you reveal them, you're just tagging yourself for... I don't know. I'm not super excited about it.
I'm not super excited. I think there could be something fun to do with it, but I don't think it's going to be anything overly competitive.
I think if you're playing this, it's going to have to be leaning into the solar part of it, and maybe there's something there, because you know what? When you play an aggro deck, sometimes you just go, I win. I just throw a lot of damage at you and I win. So...
Whoops, yeah.
And getting... The fact that she has an innate, built-in damage buff. You know, we were just talking about Creeble Racer not long ago, and whatever other buff that you're using to buff your damage, well, you don't need them anymore. You just play her.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, there's some restrictions, but I get the feeling this is one that it's going to be a little too much effort pending more cards.
Yeah.
Any other last thoughts on that, wife, or do you disagree in any capacity? Do you see any way that this is going to be the defensive one with gravity?
No. At least I don't think so right now, but maybe something insane will come up later, but I don't as of yet.
This really feels like it wants to, if it's neither, take a damage and draw the card or something. But if that were the case, it would be insane.
Nuts, yeah.
Because you would just eat the damage and draw a billion cards. You just keep playing stuff. And clearly that can't be allowed. That would be ridiculous.
No. Yes, it would.
But it just doesn't, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sold on Potion Master.
Nor am I.
So going from there, we have Pyroclastic Blast. It's our triple fire combo attack. 10 damage. 10 damage, you can remove up to 2 of your location buffs from play to increase this by 2 per buff removed. So it's whatever that poison one is, but with location buffs. And I don't like this one because, again, it's fire, and it's also triple fire. It's Burst of Venom is the other one I was thinking of. That's only double poison. It does do less damage, but it requires 1 less card, and it's also in what I think is a better element right now.
Yep.
I don't know. You got anything to sell me on Pyroclastic Blast, wife?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to move on. We got a lot more cards to cover, so.
Oh, dear Lord. Yes, we do.
Reclamation. It's a combo defend. It is double nature. Not nature, forest. I will never, I can't not see the tree as nature. I just can't. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it's remove all location and machine buffs from another hero. Heal yourself for 3. Increase this by 2 for every buff that was removed. Is this card even playable?
No.
I don't. I mean, this again is something that I don't like. Where it's, oh, well, my opponent randomly decided to play Reclamation. Guess I lose.
Yeah.
Like that.
Or I'm playing Reclamation main deck, and no locations or machines. Oh yeah, well.
The card is. It's only good in that matchup, and it's so. It feels like it's going to be so powerful in that matchup that it's going to feel awful. I don't like these sort of cards. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, it'll be fine, and by fine I mean it's so bad nobody plays it. But then that's not good either. I don't know. I don't like these sort of things.
I agree.
So we're going to move on to Rile Up, which is a triple animal combo defend. Move up to 2 Creeble cards from your deck to your hand. Reveal up to 4 Creeble cards from your hand to damage your target equal to the number of cards revealed plus 4. So you get to tutor for 2 Creebles, and then you can do up to 8.
I think it's okay.
I kind of like this thing.
I kind of like it. It's I don't know, the triple cost of the same order just turns me off, just like it has in literally pretty much every other one of these, where I'm like, oh, I kind of like this card, and I'm like, but it's 3 cost from the same element.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's the same. It's the same caveat that we've been saying with everything. Well, if there's some awesome Creebles that you can play, and in this case, it would have to be nature, most likely animal, and then unaligned, because it's just going to be too hard to make sure that you do this other stuff. And we have seen some decent new Creebles. So a while back, we talked about Mossfoot Beast Tamer, where it's rotate one of your beast buffs 1 step forward, then restart it. Yeah. That's also animal. So it's, I don't know. I'm not. I agree with you. It's tough.
Concept. I just think the paying for it is a little rough.
Any other? I like this thing. I really do. It seems like it's really cool. I feel like it needed to do 8 plus the number of Creebles, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Or reveal as many Creebles as you want. Because let's face it, how many are you gonna get? If you
that could be nuts pretty quickly.
Well, but let's think about it. So if you had, let's say, 8 Creebles in hand to make this 12 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, well, let's say you'd have, if we're making up scenarios, you start with 6, you tutor for 2, you reveal them all, you deal 12. That's a 3 cost triple animal, and you're forced into playing all Creebles. Maybe this is a future-proofing thing where, obviously we'll get future Creebles and it's only going to grow in power. But it feels like it's a little bit on the low end of the curve.
Yeah.
That you're investing a lot for not necessarily a humongous return.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to put it. It's definitely on the low end, but it's not terrible, but it's definitely lower.
Yeah, I feel like I want a little bit more. Maybe not reveal as many Creebles or up to 8 or something, but you got to give me at least 10 damage for this, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're only getting the tutor for 2, so that means that you've had to be banking 2 more, which maybe won't be that difficult, but I don't know. It's also weird. This is just one last thing. The artwork, this is another weird thing. I think we mentioned this about a different card. So there's 3 Creebles on there, but the numbers on the card text are 2 and 4. So why aren't there 2 or 4 Creebles in the art?
Why like no one else would notice that but you.
No,
No
actually,
one.
this is a thing. Like, I'm not making a joke here. This is a thing in other games, too, where it's like they try to match up the art with the card text because it's a mental cue. It's not it's not the end of the world, but it's something that now that, yes, I agree with you. Most people would not notice that, but now that I'm aware of that being the case in other places, I can't unsee it in other things.
Once it's one of those once it's been seen, it can't be unseen sort
of so now it's like I constantly notice that, and I never would have noticed otherwise. Like, even a few years ago, I would have just looked at cards and gone, oh, that's really cool artwork. Now it's like, well, why did they choose this artwork? And then, like, this is a cool, and I get that, like, it's a cool Kriebel related thing. The artwork makes sense for the card name. It costs 3, so maybe that's where the 3 comes from. But all the card text doesn't matter. I don't know. It's there's a few things that feel off, or maybe it's fine. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm gonna continue to try to not see it. But anyway, okay. What's next?
We're gonna move on to Road 202. This is an Earth buff. It's a location, as you would imagine. It's a road. Defendability. Draw 1 card. Store up to 2 Kriebel cards from your hand under this card to a maximum of 4. Attack ability. 1 damage. Increase this by 3 for each stored card. Move the stored cards to your hand. That is a lot of abilities. It may sound a little weird. Yeah. I think this card is pretty good.
I think so. I'm not personally a huge fan of the storing card abilities to be.
So let's. So here's one thing that gets me excited about it. The fact that it's a defend ability that draws a card. And I've been trying to make Mantix Weaver work for months, years now, mm-hmm. I guess, however long it's been since Mantix Weaver was a thing. So for those unaware, I'm going to pull up Mantix Weaver so I can give you the exact text. It's a soul defend card. It's an insectoid, but that's not important right now. 2 healing. Trigger all your defend abilities in play. Conditionally rotating buffs with defend abilities still rotate if applicable. So basically, you could have this Mantix Weaver, and this draws you a card. Same reason, one of the reasons that I like Duskblade Tome, although obviously that shows up in a lot of other decks. I think the fact that you could, so you draw a card, if you stick to, sorry, I'm jumping back and forth. The Mantix Weaver thing is one part of why I like it. This is a draw engine for you, hypothetically.
True.
Now, by engine, I mean, there are plenty of heroes that have ability draw a card, but there aren't a whole lot that are red that have that. So that's point 1 in its favor. Point 2, the attack ability. If you have 2 cards under this, so you draw a card, stick 2 under there, maybe you don't even have 4, that's not an insignificant amount of damage.
Yeah.
And then you're drawing those cards at the risk of your opponent just randomly popping it. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think I'm ever going to use the storage part unless there's some benefit to doing that, unless I've already bled out what I believe to be most of their buff removal.
And
go ahead.
There have been enough Kriebels that once they go away, they do enough stuff. So maybe this is a thing. You're talking me into it.
Well, I honestly think that it's a location that has a draw ability on it, and maybe you literally don't care about anything after draw a card, period. The rest of the text might as well not exist. And maybe that's fine. Maybe there's no reason to play this because you could just play Duskblade Tome and Tantosian Blacksmith instead. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but you're talking me into it, so maybe it's a thing.
I think that's the way it would have to get played. I mean, the damage, like I said, is not insignificant, but you're talking about it's going to get spread across 2 turns. You're making yourself super vulnerable, and you're investing 2 actions into it. So if you break it down to what the cost or the result per action, I don't think you're getting enough value out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you can, again, protect it somehow and then load it up with 4 Kriebels and just go wham! You know?
Yeah, which would be awesome.
I don't think that's really going to happen. I think,
No,
well, I
but
mean, it'll happen somewhere, but most of the time you're just going to feel bad.
yeah.
So, any other thoughts before we move on to another cross order, wife?
Nope. What's next?
So we got Rocky Regeneration. It's our Mountain Nature combo buff. 3/3. Your other buffs can't be removed. Rotation Healing. Deal 2 damage to your target. I think the most important part of this is the first line.
Yeah.
The second line is the second most important, and the last line no one cares about.
Pretty much.
I think we've all seen how strong Spectral Web is.
Yeah.
Like, we're all probably well aware, anybody who's listening to this has played against or with it. The difference is that Spectral Web protected itself. Again, this feels like the PlayFusion team went through and said, maybe we need to...
Maybe we should walk it back a little.
Maybe there's something that might be a little too good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. As such, yes, if you're playing red-green, you're probably playing this. Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I don't know if this is a card you're going to go out of your way to play red-green for, but if you already were planning on it.
I mean, you might, because, they have to get rid of this before they can get to your other buffs. But again, if it's your combo that you're relying on to do that, unless you're playing an actual combination style deck where you're trying to assemble multiple things and then just win the game immediately. Or you need to play this so you play out an important buff. Even then, it would be tough because you have to expose whatever your combo pieces are. Well, maybe you don't. So you play this. If they don't remove it, then you play your combo pieces, and then there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, until they remove this.
Well, yes, but the intent would be that you slam this because there are 2 corners. They don't remove it. It rotates. You play your other pieces. They're all protected. It rotates out. You don't care. You just won.
True.
I'm sure that there's an option for that. Again, we've seen a number of combo-centric decks in the past, and maybe this will be one of several pieces to protect them. Other than that, yeah, I don't see it run outside of if you're already playing red-green.
Yeah.
So we'll move from there to another combo buff, and this is our orange-blue one, our Storm Tech. It's Short Circuit. X4, rotation damage to your target, move up to 2 valid Storm or Tech action buffs from your deck into play.
I both like this and dislike this.
What don't you like about this, wife? This seems like all upside.
I don't like that it doesn't do it immediately, I guess, is what I don't like.
Well, yes, but if we can't have everything, wife.
True. No, I think this is a really strong card. I wish it were immediate. In my head, there's like endless buff removal and nothing will ever work, but...
Well, but that's the thing, is that clearly you're playing a buff-centric deck.
Yeah.
You can then, therefore, go force them... Like...
True.
You're going to be playing other threats.
Or you're forcing them to deal with this...
And if you're a buff-centric deck...
and then clear the way for something else.
Right,
later.
and if you're a buff-centric deck, you could just run this out there, and your opponent has to respect it. Like, they can't just let you... Well, I take that back. So, here's the thing. First point, the only orange-blue hero we have right now is Little Blammo. Now, while you and I happen to own, 18 of them...
9,000 copies of Little Blammo.
We're not exaggerating. We opened all our boxes that we won from Nationals, and... We
Every
got, seriously, it was, no joke, 9 Little Blammos. It's okay, someone did this on purpose.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I'm pretty sure.
But anyway, so Little Blammo aside, your opponent could just let this go off, and then if those buffs don't get immediate value, they just go, okay, Crystal Leech him.
Yeah.
And then they go, LOL! And then you go, wah! And then...
And you feel super bad.
Yeah, So I'm kind of unselling myself on this. I'm refunding
yourself on that?
I'm refunding it. It seems really powerful, which is almost it's so obviously powerful that maybe it's not. I'm starting to second guess. I don't know.
I think this is a good, solid maybe.
I mean, the effect is insane. And putting it
Oh
right
yeah,
into
the
play.
effect is amazing. It's just the
Well, let's put it this
rest of
way.
it that makes me
Let me
nervous.
ask you this: if it said X4 rotation damage, gain 2 actions, like, would you like that card?
Probably not as much.
You would like that less than this.
I don't know. I'm getting torn and confused.
Well, where I'm going with this is it basically is giving you 2 actions.
This is true.
But with technically 4, because you'd have to draw 2 of them, play 2 of them. It's giving you a lot of actions. It's clearly going to depend on what the value of those action buffs are. But you could even get something as simple as, well, I'll go get a Thunder Slug and other important thing. Like, I could see this actually being, I mean, probably a lot of people are going to focus on the combination-centric portion of this, as in, well, what 2 buffs can I drop right into play and, like, win the game on the spot? But I think it may be better as just a utility thing to be like, I'll go get Thunder Slug and Emergency System. I mean, that's, I'm like 99.9% sure that Emergency System is rotating. But the point is that you could, Emergency System's rotating. So you could get other defensive buff is what I'm saying. So clear out their threat that's a buff, and then go get a defensive buff and call it a day. Or get, like, Thunder Slug Bubblefish. Like, that doesn't sound super exciting, but then you can continue doing the rest of your game plan in the meantime, and you got them right out of your deck, as opposed to having to take resources out of your hand.
Yeah, that's true.
I still like this thing. Maybe it's not as potentially absurd as I thought initially, but I think it's pretty good.
I think it's definitely decent, so we'll see what comes with it.
I really want to see another orange-blue mythic hero, and then that'll really drive it. Because Little Blamo's combination of elements is just horrendous.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, so we'll move on from Short Circuit, and we're going to talk about Spirit Barrage. So this is our Dread Nature combo buff. 2/2/2, rotation damage your target. Your target discards 1 card from their hand. This, I think, is meaner than people might realize.
Yeah.
Like, forcing them to straight up discard, not shuffle back into their deck, 3 cards from their hand if this goes all the way, is pretty disruptive.
Yeah, especially if they don't have a decent draw engine going. Especially if they didn't have that many cards in hand. Like, maybe they have a combo and 2 cards to play for it.
Right.
Whoops.
You can really mess with your opponent or push them into mistakes because it's like, oh, well, I have to play these cards or I'm going to lose them, kind of thing.
Yeah. I just want to put it out there that the face on the bottom right is going to give me nightmares for the rest of my life.
Do they have, like, are those horns or are those trees growing out of their heads?
I think it's a nice little combination of both.
Sure. I think this thing is pretty solid. I like it a lot, especially because you're going to get the discard immediately. So if your opponent only has 1 card in hand, you can just, take it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question will then become, what are we looking at as far as we've seen a bunch of effects that benefit when you discard cards. Or if your opponent makes you discard a card, a bad thing happens to them. Are those going to be playable? And then that'll drive whether this is playable. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Corrupt Wildlife is probably significantly better, but I like this card a lot.
Yeah.
It's also going to look pretty cool as a foil, I think.
Yes, it will.
So, moving from there, we have Stormbringer. It's a lightning attack card, burn 2 damage. If your last discarded card is a combo, move it to your hand. Normally, I don't like these, but combo recursion is very rare. Well, not very rare, but it's rare.
It's rare right now.
And it generally shows up in, Storm. And I don't think this is going to be difficult to engage.
I don't think so either, especially in my infinite low cost combo
That's actually
that
like
I'm making.
so. Here's the real question for this card, wife. I mean, foil
Okay.
aside, because we've been saying that about a number of cards. I think this will look good. Is that smile on this guy creepy?
Yes, it is.
That
I think
smile, it's like Cheshire Cat levels of like.
yeah,
I think your teeth go back too far, like
just a little.
or you don't have enough cheek to cover the teeth. Like that's unsettling.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, I
like
do.
His whole head will go up if he opens.
Yeah, it's just like there's just a hinge right back here and just flops open. That's uncomfortable. Anyway, so I do think this guy. I do actually like this card.
Mm-hmm.
It might as well. I mean, the 2 damage is fine, but
yeah,
no one cares about that part. It's just getting the combo back, and I think that's going to be very playable.
Yeah, I think so too.
What about our Dread Astral combo buff, wife? The Dreadful Hour, which that's a big bone.
That is a big dude.
Because again, there's an itty bitty person in the foreground.
Yeah, there's a lot of these itty bitty people.
Although, real talk, aside from the skull, like so, block the skull with your finger or something for a second. Tell me that's not the bad guy from Power Rangers.
No, it totally is.
I don't know what his name is because I really don't like Power Rangers. But look at those hands and those arms. That's the bad guy from Power Rangers.
It's
I don't care. I really don't like Power Rangers. I don't care. Anyway, so the Dreadful Hour is 4s all around on 4 corners. It's a clunky buff. When you use an ability, if your last discarded card is Dread, deal rotation damage to your target. Otherwise, if your last discarded card is Astral, gain 2 additional actions. This thing seems redonkulous.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
There's already an existing mythic hero that is one of my favorites, Asavak. It's superior solar, superior death, gravity, and the hero has an ability on her. So it's just play this thing. If it lives, like you just slant your deck to whichever thing you really want to do.
Yeah.
Or, just play around it. Like, I need more damage. Okay, well, I'll play my death card or organize my buff so that this happens. And she lets you recur certain things. Obviously, It's getting played in her. I think it's actually because Dread is an ability-centric order. I think this will see play outside of her. Like, you're going to build a deck to take advantage of Dreadful Hour. Yeah,
I think so, too.
Because you're going to be heavy in abilities anyway.
Flashing for yellow for this card.
Yeah, I mean, the Asavak deck that I have built is not unlike the Sun Hunter deck where it relies on resets. So you're resetting a bunch of buffs, but you could do that in Dread Astral anyway. You have to dance a little bit because then you're going to need to go get the items. But I think Dreadful Hour is strong enough to justify it.
I definitely agree.
If you get to use this twice, especially 2 of the Astral sides, I have a hard time believing you lose the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's 4 additional actions.
Yeah. Even if it's just draw 2. It's activate ability, do thing, do my second action, and I'll draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Now imagine this if you hit it in play and then like Reality Rift, put a bunch of buffs into play, get an extra action, activate an ability, get 2 more actions on your combo turn, do some other, like, this feels wild.
Yeah, it does.
This card feels really, really good. I do find it's kind of cool that, is that on the other ones? Okay, yeah, so they do change the arrows for the rotations match with the side of the card, the order they are. So, like, there are yellow arrows on the Astral part, but purple arrows on the Dread part.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
It's a nice little attention to detail.
Yep. So, I like this thing. It sounds like you like it, wife.
I definitely do.
So, now we have, speaking of orange-blue heroes, Time Jumper Rylox. He is lightning, mechanical, and superior time. When you play a lightning and a time card action in the same A lightning and a time card in the same turn. You may return one action buff on any hero to its owner's hand. This can only trigger once per turn. I can't imagine that yes, you're going to bounce some opposing buffs. Oh, and he has 31 health for anybody that cares. No one cares about that part.
Yeah.
You're going to be resetting your own buffs. Let's just face it. Like that.
Yeah.
That's probably the plan here.
Yeah.
I don't. Go ahead.
I can't think of. I can't think of any other major reason to do it.
Now, the big issue is, of course, what are the buffs that you're going to be bouncing? Because those specific ones, again, one of my personal favorites, Crumbling Tower, Gear Crank Catapult, Mantix Volter, Repair Bots, Unstable Scavengers. There's a few, not very many time ones, which seems to always be the issue with these heroes that I immediately go, oh, that's really cool. Oh, he's superior time. Well, what the hell am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
There are some time buffs that are probably worth utilizing, but I don't know if I'm very excited to invest this amount of effort just to bounce them.
Yeah.
At least at this stage. That being said, it's also something other than Little Blammo, so I'm willing to give him a shot.
It's something. Yeah.
I'm going to give him a try.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be the first mythic hero that I'm going to dive into, though.
I don't think so either, but I might dive into him more than I would Little Blammo.
Well, yes. So aside from Little Blammo comparisons, anything else you want to say about Drylock's wife?
Nope. Pretty much covered it all.
So we're going to move on to Tropical Clash. It's our Nature Storm combo attack. It's burn, 9 damage. What was that?
It just looks so cool.
Well, it looks like a storm.
I know. I like storms. They're cool looking.
Although there's something disorienting about this one because you're clearly like looking up through the trees, but it feels like I'm looking down at it. I don't know. It's just like the way my brain is interpreting the image. But anyways, I think
your brain's messed up anyway.
So it's burn, 9 damage. If the recipient is holding more cards than you, you may move one combo card from your discard pile to your hand. And again, I feel like this is a pretty playable combo.
Yeah, I think it's pretty playable. Getting combos back is great. 9 damage is decent.
9 damage is really good for
really
2.
Good. Yeah.
For 2? I feel like that's
amazing.
Good.
Yeah, I like this card.
I expect to see this. To me, obviously Thundervine plays this. Thundervine I've been playing as an aggro deck. I think it would be very happy to have this combo, even if it just was 9 damage, let alone the other part. But I also feel that it would be worth, again, in all of these decks that want to recycle combos, or what you keep alluding to with that reduced cost combo build, this is something that goes in there pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth exploring splashing either Nature or Storm, respectively, into your deck in order to gain access to this.
I would splash for it. I would play hero for it. I really like this card.
Yeah, I think Tropical Clash is definitely going to make an appearance. So from there we have Vibrant Glare. It's another combo buff, but this one is double solar. As this enters play, deal 4 to your target. When you draw a card, deal 1 to your target. This can't be increased by effects. I think this thing's fine.
Yeah.
Like in a good way. I think it's solid.
I think it's solid. It's good enough.
You're immediately dealing 5 because you're going to deal 4, then you're going to draw for your combo and poke them for 1. Yeah. That's not great. But you can set it up so that, say, their Astronomer, for example, it'll draw 4 and then deal 4. And it's individual ones, I think. I guess we'd have to check on that. So the draw from Astronomer that says draw 4 cards, is it draw, deal 1, draw, deal 1, draw, deal, or is it all considered one draw? So you deal 1 packet of damage.
The way I'm reading it, it seems like it would be draw, deal 1, draw, deal 1, draw, deal 1.
Well,
and if that's the case, I think this card's super strong and definitely.
It depends on how the game interprets the word draw. So it could just be, it says draw and then a number. So you're only doing one draw action. It just so happens that 4 cards are part of that action, as opposed to it sees each card drawn as a draw.
Yeah.
And I've played different games that handled it different ways, so I could see it either way.
This is true.
Even if it's splitting it up, it's not incredibly exciting, because the best case scenario, I think, is you play this, Astronomer's going to go off next turn, they don't remove them, you draw 4, and you've dealt 8. Okay, that's good. Beyond that, I don't know, like, okay, then you do nothing, let's say. You draw 2 more cards, and now you've dealt 10. That feels like a good 2-cost, like a really solid 2-cost combo. But what are the odds that they, A, don't remove any of those, and B, what about your other draw effects? Like, what else are you doing besides Astronomer? Yes, there are other ones, but how many of them are you playing? And I think you really need to get to double digits to justify this one. Or, I mean, we were just talking about the last combo attack that it deals 9, and that's fine, but it also 9 and has a really strong effect. This, you need to draw 5 more cards, and you get no extra effect, essentially. Yeah. Like, if they remove it at that point or deal with it, I'm kind of walking back on what I'm excited about this.
I think it's solid enough. I don't know if it's going to, like, make every deck, but I could see it making an appearance every once in a while.
It's an okay double solar.
Yeah.
I could definitely see this being, as compared to, we were talking earlier, the 6th or 7th combo, this is like the 9th or 10th combo.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. Maybe if there's enough draw effects, obviously, maybe this is a kill condition. So, moving from there, we have Water Spout. It's a double water combo attack, 5 damage, heal yourself for 2, and draw a card. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I got whatever.
That pretty much.
Okay. I don't know what deck wants this that wouldn't rather play, say, Murky Waters.
Oh, yeah.
And Murky Waters is still going to be legal, so we're just going to move on because I don't really have anything else to add. So, Winds of Plague. This is the Dread Storm combo buff, and it's replacing one. Chilling Touch was one of my favorite cards, so this one better be good. It's XX9?
Yes.
I have to turn my head because it's like, it's
disorienting.
Yeah, I'm looking at it anyway. So we're going to say it's 9. Rotation healing. Your enemy may discard 1 attack card to reduce this by 4. Rotation damage your target. Your target may discard 1 defend card to reduce this by 4. I'm not super enthused by this.
I am not either.
I mean, the disruption's fine. The problem is that your opponent can just, if it was switched, and I know why it's not. So if it required a defend card to reduce the attack damage and an attack card to reduce the damage to your opponent, it required a defend card to reduce the healing and an attack card to reduce the damage, it would feel a lot better, because obviously control decks aren't running that many attacks, and aggro decks are not running that many defends. I know why it's not, because then that would be a ridiculous swing against the deck that it had to be. But at the same time, I don't know, you'll deal 9, heal 5 against certain things, assuming that it lives that long. So they have 2 turns to just pop it.
Yeah, they have 2 turns
to get rid of it. Or draw the cards.
And I'm not that enthused by it.
And against a control deck, I think this does almost nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, deal 4 and make them discard a card. Well, congratulations. Who cares?
Yeah.
Or they could just eat it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not very excited by it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to go out there and say that I don't think I'm going to. I mean, yes, if you're playing Dread Storm, you'll probably include it. Like, let's face it.
Yeah.
You're probably going to utilize it. But even then, I don't know. I'm not going out of my way for this card.
Yeah.
So coming back around, Anchored Soul. So this is a soul buff, 4 corners, all blank. Undead buff. The buff to the left of this one can't be removed. If you get attacked, restart this buff. So again, we'll call it a fixed spectral web.
Yeah.
I kind of like this thing. I do appreciate, one of my favorite things about Lightseekers is trying to properly map your turns and your actions, and I think that's where the game intended to be, despite a lot of the decks that we've seen perform well at a high competitive level.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is forcing you to like, okay, well, I have to sequence the plays so that I have the important thing next to this. And clearly it's going to have to be removed first, because if they're playing any other, they're not removing the important thing, so they're going to have to Crystal Leech this and then get at it.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's the play that's going to happen, because any aggressive deck will never be able to win if they just let this rotate out. Like, they'll just lose if they give you 4 turns. Basically, it doesn't matter what you're playing.
Yeah.
That being said, since it only protects a single buff, like, that's, I don't know.
But it can be a single buff that matters quite a bit, but...
Well, of course, but...
Yeah. I think this is gonna stay.
So here's one of my other problems with it, is that I think that buff has to be a non-rotating buff, or at the very least a clunky one. Or it better be a damn important rotating one, because what happens to this when, again, the sequencing being important, eventually it's going to make its way all the way to the left. There will be nothing to the left of it.
Yeah.
Like, and then okay, the card's dead. So it's not like you're playing Stump Drift Shaman and then this and say, I'm protecting my healing. Well, great. Okay. Like, yeah. Is that it? Like, okay, I'll just kill you through it, kind of thing.
True.
So that's why I think it has to be a non-rotating buff. I'm not sure what that buff is. I'm sure there is one, but I couldn't tell you what it is right now.
Yeah.
It's something to keep in mind just because the ability is so powerful. But
yes.
Yeah. So beyond Anchored Soul, we have Bramble Warden Beam.
It's a name there.
Yes, it is. The Bramble Warden is a superior soul nature hero, 30 health, ability, discard a Creeble card to draw 2 cards. I think this guy's pretty good. We've obviously seen a number of things that want you or encourage discard. I'm sure we'll get more. Obviously, it's the green Creeble things. It's unfortunate that he's not animal superior, because you clearly want to... You're going to be playing the Creebles. You want to play that thing from earlier where it's triple animal, and then you get more Creebles. But it's triple animal on Rile Up. So, but your soul superior, maybe all of the... I don't know. I get it. I'm sure this was a conscious decision, but because of the dissonance between those, it feels tough. It's like... It's kind of like how I felt with the Insectoid heroes with the last set, where it's, okay, well, you want to play Insectoids because of the powers on these cards, but you'd rather, if you're going to play Insectoids, you'd almost rather play it in the other heroes because the other heroes are just better. Or they hit the superior element that you need. Soul is a good superior element in nature. The problem is like, if all the Creeble support in nature is going to be animal, well, then that makes it really weird when your hero's superior soul. It's just clunky.
And not in a buff way.
Yep. So that's all I have to say about him, unless you got something on it, wife.
Nope.
So Calibration Stance is our Astral Tech combo buff. It's 6/5/4. If your last discarded card is an attack card, deal rotation damage to your target. If your last discarded card is a defend card, heal yourself for rotation. Otherwise, draw a card.
It's a lot of
Thoughts?
text there.
I mean, it's kind of logical. If you got an attack,
Yeah.
deal damage. If you got to defend, heal. Otherwise, you're drawing cards.
Yeah. I think it's decent.
I like this card a lot.
I like it a lot, actually.
Well, it immediately deals 6
and
when it comes
one thing that
out.
you're going to hate me for,
What?
the artwork reminds me of Spaceship Earth and Epcot.
Sure it does.
It's so... Yeah, it really does.
Okay. I don't know. I like this thing a lot. I mean, yes, there's the potential that you're only dealing the 6. But the fact that you could be dealing 11, because you're probably setting it up for, like if you have the attack card on top and it doesn't get removed, you're dealing the 11 unless you botched something.
Yeah.
That, 11 is a lot for a 2-cost combo, even though it's a cross order. Or if you're a defend card, healing for 11, against an aggro deck, is a lot. That's a lot of healing. The draw card is just your consolation booby prize, I guess.
Yeah. Or, I mean, and there's enough ways, I think, to, deal 6 and then make sure that you heal 5 or vice versa.
Well, yes and no, because it's going to take up your turn, so you'd have to do some really weird shenanigans to make that happen. You're more likely to, do one of the effects and draw a card.
Yeah.
Right now, our only orange-yellow mythic hero is Grand Architect Halvar, which has been already proven to be a solid aggressive deck. Mm-hmm. So, quite clearly, you could end up with a bunch of attacks and then say, okay, well, have buff removal or die. And that's how it probably would be, because if you can tag them for 11, it's a lot of damage.
Yes, it is.
So I like Calibration Stance a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
So one of your favorites is the next one, and that's Captain Rotbeard.
Yes.
So he is a Poison Superior Dread hero, 31 health. Deal 1 damage to your target if you play a Creeble card and an Undead card in the same turn. This can only trigger once per turn, as most of these abilities go. He may be a funny pirate, but I don't think he's a very playable hero.
I don't think he's a very playable hero, but he's still the king ghost pig pirate of my heart.
Yes.
Yes. Just let it be.
Okay, we'll go with that. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Kolax the Historian, who is a superior explosives tech hero. Ability, discard the top card of your deck. If the discarded card was a combo, deal 5 to your target. Otherwise, deal 2 to your target. This can't be increased by effects. So this is probably one of our tech self-discard cards.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a pretty decent effect. We've talked about the mill fallacy and how it relates to Lightseekers. I don't know if there's enough I want to discard my stuff support for this right now.
Yeah. I don't know if there's enough right now, but I think there might be coming down the pike. Plus, and this is going to be big for me because he's a dinosaur. He's adorable.
Well, why is he a historian and then he's destroying knowledge?
He is taking it and putting it straight into his book. His discard pile is his book.
If you had said that he was taking history and putting it to practical use, that would have been a better way.
Maybe both?
No. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen enough cards yet to say that I'm excited. And we've mentioned it for all of these cards when these sort of effects have come up, that it's like, okay, well, if there's enough support. I haven't seen enough support yet.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I do like the artwork on this guy. I can't tell if he's wearing a tie or is that like I don't know what that is.
I think it's like an ascot.
It looks like he's wearing like a coat hanger.
No, he's wearing like an ascot.
Sure it is. Is that like a potion on his wrist? I guess it's supposed to be ink.
Yeah, it's ink for his quill.
I'm going to say it's a health potion instead.
No, it's ink for his quill because
he's clearly a lefty. Why does he have the ink on the left arm?
That
makes no sense. Logistically, that makes no sense. He's holding the pen here, and then the ink is here. That makes no sense.
Just
Immersion broken!
anyway, what's next?
All right. Crystallizer. It's a crystal attack card. 3 damage. The recipient moves 1 card from their hand to the bottom of their deck. I actually like this thing.
I think it's good.
For a while back, I had tried to build a red-blue, a Storm Mountain disruption-based deck, because that was when we had access to Avalanche, but in reality, it just worked because Avalanche was redonkulous. I think if there's a mass quantity of this sort of effect, it's pretty cool, because it's okay, maybe I'm not doing a ton of damage, but I'm constantly pressuring you on multiple fronts, both your health as well as your in-hand resources, so that way it's very simple for someone to make a poor choice. You know, you're putting pressure on your opponent to make sure they have to react appropriately, or they're going to lose because of all the disruption. I like the effects. I don't know if this one's strong enough because it's merely 3 damage, and I don't know if there are enough cards to justify that sort of strategy right now.
Yeah. I don't know if there is yet either, but I think it's possibly good enough. Plus, he looks like somebody you'd find in the Neverending Story.
He does look like a Neverending Story character, I guess. Trying to figure out what's going on with his hands, but we're going to move on from there. So this one I am actually pretty excited about, and that's Death Hunter Adriok. So it's our new, I almost said soul, but it's not soul. It's Nature Dread dual hero, superior animal, superior death, and plain old regular shadow. When one of your animal buffs expires, store 1 death card from your discard pile under this card up to a maximum of 3. Ability: damage your target equal to the number of stored cards. So I don't think, I mean, it's going to be challenging to get the buffs to actually expire.
Yeah.
But once you do, it's every turn just tag you for 3.
Yeah.
And 3 isn't a great amount, as we've talked about, but it's 3 from an ability, not 3 from playing a card out of hand.
Yeah. I think he has the potential to be really strong if you can get him to go off appropriately.
I feel like you're going to have to play into his ability, because the element combination is weird. You do get a buff removal because you're going to get Shadow Puppet. You do get some heals, but your heals are going to be like Soul Trader or Soul Thief, as opposed to a heal 6. It's also, your damage reduction is Bone Wall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bone Wall in this particular case isn't terrible, simply because you do have access to shadow cards. Like, you could play a shadow buff, but you're not Shadow Superior, so you might run into some weird juggling scenarios, hypothetically. You obviously are going to want to lean significantly heavier into death and animal, so you may just not have a whole lot of shadow cards, period.
Mm-hmm.
Point being is that Wall of Bones, rather, not Bone Wall, is not really exciting when it's only preventing 2 on each corner.
Yeah, that's true.
So you may not have the time to let your buffs expire and then store cards and then do damage and then finally turn. It's a lot of things to come together.
It is a lot of things, but if it works, I think it's cool.
Yeah, I feel like I'd rather play Zelana,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure. I think it's good to have options, and I definitely want to try this guy out.
Yeah. He looks like a cross between the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth and Illidan.
I get the Illidan. I don't remember Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth.
He's the one who had his eyes in his hands.
How does he remind you of that guy?
I like when his hands are down. He like it's the same type of teeth and the no eyes things.
I guess. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
So does this guy hunt death?
I think
I mean,
he
I
hunts
get
for
what
death.
the name is supposed to imply, but I don't know. I just like
Yes.
the funny plays on words where it's like, yeah, is this guy hunting death? So is he actually a doctor? Are you a doctor?
I'm judging by that big like cleaver in his
He
hand,
could be a
but
surgeon. How about that,
a
wife? Did you think
surgeon.
about that one?
What? How is a surgeon requires like small delicate cuts? What is he a surgeon of?
Okay, let you. The history. I have to explain this to the history person about the
All right.
history of medicine. Like,
I don't.
let's go back a
Let's
few
not
hundred
talk
years.
about a few hundred years ago surgery because that is enough to turn me off any type of food.
Anyway, so we'll move on from there. And ladies and gentlemen, we finally made it through the marathon. By the time this goes up, there's going to be like 1,000 more cards to go
Yes, there
through.
will.
We appreciate anybody who's made it this far. If you had to break this up, I don't blame you. We did,
Yes.
and we
Yeah.
were doing it. It was definitely fun to go through this many cards, but we're going to make an effort to try and get the next one out sooner, just so we don't have
Yes.
1,000 to go through again.
Hopefully real life allows for that to happen.
Yeah, definitely a shout out to all of the people who did reveals. So Bova, Filthy Phil, Joshua, Razor Greshu. Appreciate you guys doing all that stuff. We definitely look forward for more of them. I was looking at some of the ones from today, as in the ones when this is being recorded, that we didn't go over, and we got a lot more work to do, wife.
Yes, we do. I'm excited.
Yep, the set is looking fun. Yes, there are some that we weren't so enthused about, but there are definitely ones that we're like, yeah, gotta give me them cards. Give me.
And it's
Grab your
coming
hands.
soon.
Yes, very, very soon. All that new and exciting news. Some of it's some interesting news, we'll call it. Because as we started out with, I legitimately don't know how to interpret some of these. But the future for Lightseekers, to me, I'm excited about it for me personally. I obviously can't speak for everyone else, but I'm looking forward to the things that I'm seeing out of Lightseekers. No, nothing's perfect. Yes, we could all make the complaint about, yes, we were supposed to have this set 2 months ago, but it happens.
We're going to live in the now.
Yeah, so there's nothing that can really be done about that. It's just, what can we do moving forward? What about you, wife? You're excited about this? Outlook's looking bright.
I am super excited about this. I'm gonna attempt to be there the day we get it in the app and start making stuff right away.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to try and stream through the app. I'm very excited about the draft mode, because I think my game plan is going to be dive in there and then try and grind up, assuming that this is possible, grind up resources to open up a whole bunch of Uprising packs in the app and then try out all this wacky stuff. Because there's a lot of fun things, I think, that are there, and not necessarily all of them are immediately obvious, or that the idea is obvious and then it's the iteration trying to get to, okay, well, this build is actually functional.
Yeah.
So I guess
we'll have to see.
Yeah, with that, I think we're going to close up. We have like a gazillion hours of editing to do. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And tune in next time for more Random's Thoughts.